chosen one, they thought this mess would finally expose you. They expected you to lose control, to explain yourself, to defend your name in front of everyone. They were watching closely, waiting for a reaction, anger, fear, desperation. But instead, you stayed calm. You moved with wisdom. You trusted Allah while others panicked. And that's what stunned them, because what they witnessed was not weakness, not silence from fear. It was divine composure. It was Sabr under pressure. It was Tawakkul in real time. Allah trained you for this moment long before it arrived. And when the test came, you passed it with dignity. If you've ever been surrounded by chaos while Allah told you to stay still, this message is for you. What looked like a mess to them was actually Allah revealing the chosen one within you. Allah trained you in silence long before the chaos ever arrived, shaping you in seasons where no one clapped for you, no one defended you, and no one even noticed what you were carrying inside your chest. Because the chosen one is never prepared in public, but forged in hidden places where only Allah is watching, where nights are long, prayers are quiet, tears fall without witnesses, and the heart learns how to stand without leaning on people. And during those silent years you were misunderstood, overlooked, delayed, isolated, and sometimes even blamed for things you didn't do. Yet Allah was strengthening your sabr, disciplining your nafs, sharpening your discernment, and teaching you how to listen more than you speak, how to endure without complaining, and how to trust wit. Outseeing, so when the storm finally came and everyone else panicked, reacted emotionally, exposed their immaturity, or collapsed under pressure, you didn't, not because the situation was easy, but because Allah had already conditioned your soul through hardship that never made headlines, through battles you survived quietly, through disappointments that didn't destroy you but refined you. And that is why your calm confused them, because they never saw the years Allah spent preparing you in isolation. They didn't see the patience built when doors stayed closed, the wisdom formed when answers didn't come, the emotional control developed when you had to swallow your pain and keep moving. And now, when chaos surrounds you, you don't need to announce your strength or explain your composure, because silence is familiar territory to you. It is where you were trained. It is where your faith matured. And it is where Allah taught you that storms don't require noise but certainty, and while others only see the moment you stayed calm, Allah sees the long road of restraint, discipline, prayer, and inner growth that led you there, which is why this mess didn't break you but revealed you, because storms don't create character, they expose it, and Allah made sure yours was ready long before the winds started blowing. You refused to react from the ego when everything in the moment tempted you to defend yourself, to prove your innocence, to match disrespect with disrespect, and to respond emotionally just to feel relief. But Allah had already taught you that ego is loud, impatient, and hungry for validation, while wisdom is quiet, restrained, and rooted in trust. So instead of letting wounded pride dictate your actions, you paused, you observed, and you chose control over chaos, understanding that the nafs always wants the last word, but the chosen one waits for Allah to deliver the final outcome. And this decision shocked people because they expected you to explode, to expose secrets, to argue publicly, or to fight back in ways that would lower you to their level, yet you didn't, because Allah trained you to recognize that reacting from ego might feel powerful in the moment, but always weakens you in the end, while restraint preserves honor, protects the future, and invites divine support. And even though it was painful to stay silent, to watch narratives form without correcting them, to see others misunderstand your calm as guilt or weakness, you trusted that Allah sees what people distort and hears what is spoken behind closed doors. And by refusing to react emotionally, you removed their control over you. You denied them the reaction they were seeking, and you placed the entire situation back in Allah's hands where it belonged. And that inner discipline is what separates the chosen from the impulsive, because anyone can react, but very few can restrain themselves when they are wronged. And this is why your silence carried more weight than any argument. Your composure unsettled them more than anger ever could. And your refusal to let ego lead became a form of spiritual authority, because when ego steps aside, Allah steps forward, and when Allah defends you, no explanation is required. Emotional discipline is one of the clearest signs that Allah has chosen and refined you, because you were not protected from pain, betrayal, or disappointment, yet you were taught how to carry those emotions without allowing them to control your behavior. And that balance did not come naturally, but was learned through repeated trials where reacting emotionally would have destroyed your credibility, your future, or your peace. So Allah trained you to feel deeply without becoming reckless, to be hurt without becoming hateful, and to be angry without becoming unjust. And this is why people were stunned watching you handle that mess with composure, because most people only know two extremes, emotional suppression or emotional explosion. But you moved with a maturity rooted in Iman, where emotions are acknowledged but placed under the authority of reason and faith. And even though your heart felt heavy, your chest tight, and your mind exhausted, you still chose restraint, thoughtful action, and dignity, understanding that every emotional reaction carries consequences long after the moment passes. And this level of control is rare because it requires self-awareness, humility, and trust in Allah's wisdom rather than impulse. And while others allowed their emotions to expose their insecurity, you allowed discipline to reveal your strength, and that is why your calm unsettled them, because emotional discipline cannot be faked. It only comes from inner work, long patience, and reliance on Allah. And when the pressure rose and eyes were watching, your behavior testified that Allah had already mastered your heart before He entrusted you with the test, proving that the chosen are not those who feel less, but those who remain upright when feeling everything. You trusted Allah's justice over immediate vindication at a moment when everything inside you wanted clarity, correction, and public acknowledgement of the truth. Because being misunderstood is painful, being falsely judged is heavy, and watching lies circulate without responding can feel unbearable. Yet Allah guided your heart to something deeper than momentary relief, teaching you that not every battle is meant to be fought with words, and not every injustice requires instant explanation. So while others rushed to clear their names, expose others, or control the narrative, you chose a path that demanded far more strength, patience, restraint, and complete reliance on Allah, understanding that people's opinions change quickly, but Allah's justice never fails. And even though silence cost you emotionally, even though it meant accepting temporary discomfort, damaged perceptions, and unanswered questions, you recognized that defending yourself prematurely could have entangled you further, lowered your dignity, or distracted you from what Allah was actually doing behind the scenes. Because vindication from people is often shallow and short-lived, while vindication from Allah is precise, undeniable, and permanent. And this is why you allowed time to speak, allowed actions to reveal truth, and allowed Allah to expose what needed exposure in ways no explanation ever could. And, as days passed, cracks appeared in false narratives, inconsistencies surfaced, and people slowly began to see what you already knew, not because you argued, but because Allah defended you quietly, and this shook them, because they expected you to panic, to over-explain, to beg for understanding. Yet you stood firm in the belief that Allah is Al-Adl, the most just, who sees intentions, hears whispered lies, and records every wrong even when no one else does. And by choosing trust over urgency, you protected your character, preserved your honor, and positioned yourself for a resolution that came without humiliation or regret, proving that the Chosen One does not chase validation from creation, but waits patiently for justice from the Creator, knowing that when Allah clears your name, it will be done so thoroughly that no doubt remains. No apology is required, and no explanation is needed, because truth revealed by Allah carries a weight that silence alone could never achieve. The mess you were placed in was never about the situation itself, the people involved, or the chaos surrounding it. It was a precise test of character designed by Allah to reveal who you truly are when pressure removes comfort and exposes the heart, because circumstances only create noise, but character determines response. And Allah allowed that disorder to surround you, so what He built inside you could be seen without you saying a word. And while others blamed the environment, the timing, or the actions of people, you understood that this was not a test of survival, but a test of integrity, restraint, patience, and moral consistency, where every reaction would either elevate you or quietly disqualify you from what Allah is preparing next. And that is why the weight felt heavier than usual, because character tests are subtle, slow, and unforgiving. They don't announce themselves, they observe. And in that mess, you were tempted to compromise values for convenience, to speak out of anger instead of wisdom, to justify actions that felt deserved but weren't righteous. Yet you didn't, because Allah had already rooted your identity in principles rather than emotions. So you chose dignity when chaos invited recklessness, you chose fairness when injustice tempted retaliation, and you chose patience when ego demanded reaction. And this is what stunned people, because many can appear upright when life is smooth, but very few remain grounded when things fall apart publicly. And Allah knew that if He gave you elevation without testing your character under pressure, the responsibility that comes with it could corrupt rather than refine you. So He allowed the mess to expose what was already inside you, proving that your strength was not situational, but foundational. And even though the situation felt unfair, uncomfortable, and exhausting, it was never meant to define you by outcome, but to define you by conduct. And now that the dust is settling, what remains is not the chaos itself, but the clarity of who acted with honor and who revealed their weakness. And Allah recorded every restrained response, every swallowed word, every moment you chose what was right over what felt satisfying, because the Chosen One is not measured by how they win, but by how they behave when everything around them is falling apart. And this is why the mess did not damage your future but purified it, because Allah does not test character to break it. He tests it to prove it worthy of what comes next. You chose long-term honor over short-term relief, and in that choice, you revealed the depth of your faith, the maturity of your heart, and the reality of being a chosen one, Because the moment you faced the chaos, the lies, the betrayal and the pressure, every fiber of your being screamed for instant relief, a word spoken, a reaction made, a confrontation engaged, anything to feel the temporary release of tension and to quiet the noise surrounding you. Yet Allah had already trained your soul in patience and wisdom, teaching you that what feels good now may cost you forever, that the satisfaction of immediate vindication is fleeting, while the weight of compromised dignity lasts. And in that quiet internal struggle, you realize that to react hastily is to serve the ego, to serve fleeting pride, to allow the nafs to take control over the divine order of your life. And so you resisted every temptation to lash out, to explain yourself to the world, to confront unfairness with impulsive words, and even to prove your truth to those who doubted you, because you understood something they could not see. Allah sees everything, knows everything, and acts at the perfect moment, and your duty was not to rush justice, but to safeguard your character, to honor your principles, and to preserve the sacred trust of your soul. And in doing so, you endured moments of sharp pain, where silence felt unbearable, where letting go of the need for immediate relief felt unnatural, where swallowing your words and restraining your impulses felt heavier than the chaos itself. Yet you remained steadfast. Because the Chosen One does not trade eternity for a fleeting moment, does not sacrifice dignity for comfort, and does not compromise integrity for temporary peace. And even though the people around you expected anger, expected drama, expected visible struggle, they were left stunned because what they witnessed was calm under fire, patience under insult, and composure under chaos, not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it, the deliberate choice to allow Allah's wisdom to govern your actions rather than your impulsive desires. And every second you waited, every moment you resisted, every breath you controlled, you were growing stronger in Sabr, sharper in discernment, and more aligned with divine timing, because Allah does not allow trials to go unanswered, and every choice to prioritize honor over relief compounds into a spiritual weight of reward, respect, and unseen protection. And what people saw as quiet endurance, Allah saw as a heart refined, a soul elevated, and a chosen one prepared for what lies ahead. Because those who chase relief often stumble in storms, but those who choose honor stand resilient when the winds rage. And now, as the dust settles and the world watches, they see a calm that unsettles, a dignity that amazes, and a faith that cannot be shaken. Because the Chosen One understood that real victory is never measured by immediate satisfaction, but by the preservation of integrity, the cultivation of trust in Allah, and the unwavering alignment with the principles He has planted in your heart. And this is why the same situation that tempted many to act foolishly became for you a stage to demonstrate divine composure, proving that when short-term relief is sacrificed for long-term honor, Allah's unseen hand will fill the gap with protection, clarity, vindication, and blessings beyond imagination. And in that moment, everyone was stunned, not by what you said, but by what you chose not to say, not by what you did, but by what you restrained from doing. And that is the power of a chosen one, who understands that true strength lies in patience, true courage lies in restraint, and true faith lies in trusting Allah completely while allowing your actions to reflect honor, wisdom, and divine alignment rather than fleeting impulses or human expectations. Allah used the chaos to separate you from pretenders, because in moments of pressure, true character is revealed and hidden intentions are exposed, and what looked like confusion, betrayal, or mess was actually a divine mechanism to sift through people, to distinguish those whose loyalty and sincerity were genuine from those whose proximity to you was driven by selfish desires, envy, or convenience. And even though the chaos was overwhelming, unfair, and exhausting, every interaction, every word, every reaction from others became a mirror, showing who truly belongs in your circle and who was never meant to walk alongside you. Because Allah understands the importance of surrounding the chosen one with those who will uplift, support, and honor the path He has prepared, and He removes those whose presence could hinder, distract, or dilute the impact of your destiny. And in that turbulent time, you may have noticed people disappearing, alliances breaking, conversations ceasing, and opportunities fading. But what seemed like loss was actually protection, what seemed like abandonment was actually clarity, and what seemed like chaos was actually refinement, because the chosen one cannot rise while carrying the weight of hidden agendas, fake loyalties, or toxic energies, and Allah knew that before elevating you, He needed to ensure that your environment was purified, your circle fortified, and your heart shielded from distraction, manipulation, and unnecessary conflict. And so, through every betrayal, every disappointment, every shocking revelation, Allah was quietly orchestrating your separation from those who could never match your level of faith, patience, or vision, teaching you that not everyone who smiles with you is truly with you. Not every hand offered is meant to help, and not every voice speaking your name carries sincerity. And this process required you to remain observant, discerning, and emotionally disciplined, because recognizing pretenders is not instantaneous. It takes wisdom, patience, and clarity, which are only built through trials. And while the world might have seemed messy, confusing, and unfair, you were witnessing the unseen hand of Allah, gently removing those who could have slowed your ascent, who could have dimmed your light, or who could have tainted the blessings meant to follow your faithful choices. And you learned to stop seeking explanations from people, to stop demanding loyalty from those whose hearts were not aligned with truth, and to stop holding on to connections that no longer served righteousness. Because sometimes detachment is the ultimate protection, and silence is the greatest revelation. And in that process, every lie, every manipulation, every hidden agenda that was revealed became a lesson, a confirmation, and a shield, because the chosen one recognizes that the people you lose in Allah's plan are never losses at all, but rather necessary removals, and every disappointment became proof that your circle, your environment, and your destiny are being perfected, that the path you are walking is being cleared of obstacles, and that Allah's wisdom in removing pretenders is far greater than any human understanding, because while others might have criticized, judged, or questioned your calm amidst the chaos, the truth is that every act of patience, every withheld response, every moment of restraint, and every silent observation allowed you to witness who is real, who is sincere, and who is truly aligned with the purpose Allah has placed upon your life. And by the time the storm subsided, the circle around you was refined, the loyalty was evident, the intentions were clear, and the chaos had done its job without you even needing to intervene. Because the chosen one does not fight to expose pretenders. Allah does it quietly, perfectly, and with timing that only He knows. And that is why the chaos did not harm you, it did not weaken you, It did not diminish your strength, but rather purified your surroundings, clarified your vision, and revealed the people whose presence will contribute to the legacy, the impact, and the destiny that Allah has designed uniquely for you. And this revelation stunned those who expected confusion or failure, because what they witnessed was not defeat, but divine selection in motion. A test of discernment that no one else could have passed, and a demonstration that when Allah is in charge of your environment, no pretender can linger, no false loyalty can persist, and no obstacle disguised as a person can remain, because every removal, every separation, and every revelation is orchestrated to protect the chosen one, to preserve honor, to secure destiny, and to ensure that when the time comes for elevation, the foundation is strong, the circle is pure, and the path is free of those who could ever interfere with the greatness Allah has prepared for you. Your calm became living proof of tawakkul, the trust in Allah that transcends fear, doubt, and the desperate desire to control outcomes, because when chaos surrounded you, when lies circulated, when betrayal cut deep, and when the weight of expectations and pressures threatened to crush your spirit, your response was not to panic, not to lash out, not to manipulate, and not to prove yourself to anyone, but to remain steadfast in the quiet assurance that Allah is Al-Muhaymin, the protector of your heart, the witness to your intentions, and the one who orchestrates outcomes with perfection that no human hand can replicate. And this calm did not come from ignorance of the situation, from naivety, or from pretending everything was fine. It came from an internal mastery over your fears, a profound discipline over your emotions, and a certainty that what is decreed by Allah for you cannot be delayed beyond its appointed time, cannot be altered by the actions of others, and cannot be stolen from your hands by deception or envy. And in every tense moment, every whispered lie, every false accusation, and every expectation for you to crumble, you stood unwavering, because tawakkul is not passive submission, it is an active, conscious surrender of all anxieties, doubts, and attempts to force results. And you embodied this surrender in a way so visible that those around you could not ignore it. Those who sought to see you falter were forced to witness a quiet strength that could not be shaken, a peace that could not be disturbed, and an assurance that could not be undermined, and very action you refrained, from every word you did not speak, every retaliation you did not seek, every correction you did not insist upon, was an illustration of your reliance upon Allah's perfect wisdom and timing, showing the world that real faith does not demand immediate outcomes, does not insist upon acknowledgement, and does not require applause from creation, because the reward, the justice, and the ultimate truth belong to Allah alone. And as the storm raged around you, your calm became a living sermon, a lesson no lecture could convey, a silent dawah that spoke louder than any arguments, and people were stunned because they expected emotional collapse, impulsive responses, or desperate measures, yet they were confronted with someone who remained entirely grounded, entirely composed, and entirely surrendered to the one who sees all things, knows all things, and measures every heart. And this display of tawakkul was not merely for others to see, but it also strengthened your own soul, because every moment of patience, every act of trust, every second you held your composure against the chaos, built an inner fortress that no pressure could breach, a spiritual resilience that no betrayal could shake, and a clarity that no noise could distort. And this internal strength became visible externally, so what people interpreted as confidence, poise, or even mystique was, in reality, a reflection of your unwavering reliance on Allah, because true tawakkul manifests not just in the heart, but in action, in demeanor, in silence, and in the refusal to be enslaved by the fleeting illusions of control that the world imposes. And through this process, Allah elevated your example, making your response a reference point for what faith in action truly looks like. And as the situation unfolded, your calm served as proof to observers, enemies, allies, and even yourself, that when the chosen one places trust in Allah completely, the unseen hand moves decisively, the unseen forces align perfectly, and the outcomes that seemed impossible are made manifest with precision, timing, and justice. And even as others scrambled for explanations, defenses, or recognition, your peace remained untouched, because it was anchored in certainty, grounded in conviction, and aligned with divine wisdom. And this unwavering reliance not only protected you from error, but also attracted solutions, allies, and clarity in ways that human effort alone could never achieve, because tawakkul is the bridge between effort and outcome, and your calm demonstrated to the world that the chosen one operates from a higher plane, where patience is strategy, silence is power, and trust is the ultimate weapon. And through every trial, every test, and every attempt to destabilize you, your composure illuminated the truth that when Allah is in control, no deception can succeed, no opposition can prevail, and no situation can overwhelm the one who has surrendered wholly to him. And in this way, your calm became a testament, a living miracle of tawakkul in practice, showing everyone who doubted, judged, or underestimated you that faith, when applied consistently, transforms the believer into a pillar of strength, a beacon of hope, and a reflection of divine timing. Because the chosen one does not merely endure, they embody trust, exemplify patience, and reflect the certainty of Allah's plan in every gesture, every breath, every choice, and every moment. And this is why your calm did not just preserve your dignity or protect your outcome, but it became a declaration to the world that Allah's chosen cannot be shaken by circumstance, cannot be distracted by deception, and cannot be diminished by chaos. Because when you truly rely on Allah, even the fiercest storm only serves to reveal your steadfastness, your elevated character, and the undeniable truth that you are guided, protected, and unstoppable in the hands of the one who commands all things with perfect wisdom and timing. And every person who witnessed your serenity could feel it without words, see it without explanation, and understand it without being told, because your calm was not a facade, but a living proof that tawakkul is the anchor of the soul, the weapon of the believer, and the defining mark of the chosen ones. Your response was silent dawah without words, because in the midst of chaos, betrayal, misunderstanding, and pressure, you did not rely on explanations, arguments, or justifications to prove your truth or defend your honor. Instead, you embodied the principles of Islam through your actions, your composure, and your unwavering trust in Allah, demonstrating to everyone around you that faith is not something merely spoken, but something lived, breathed, and manifested in behavior, even when no one is watching. And while the world expected outbursts, explanations, or visible displays of defense, you remained calm, patient, and dignified, and in that quiet response, you were teaching a lesson far more powerful than any speech or lecture could convey, because dawah is not limited to preaching. It is the reflection of divine guidance in how a believer conducts themselves. And when your opponents, critics, and even casual observers witnessed your restraint, they were confronted with the reality that true faith transforms character, guides decisions, and instills an inner peace that cannot be shaken by external chaos, which stunned them, because few have seen patience in action, integrity under pressure, and trust in Allah displayed so tangibly. And this silent dawah reached far deeper than words ever could, touching hearts, stirring reflection, and inspiring awe in ways that no argument could achieve, because it is in your demeanor, your measured responses, your controlled emotions, and your conscious choices that the principles of Islam were illuminated for those who watched closely. And while some tried to interpret your silence as weakness, doubt, or indecision, the truth is that your calmness, your patience, and your unwavering reliance on Allah spoke volumes about the depth of your faith, the clarity of your purpose, and the authenticity of your character. And every action you restrained from taking, every insult you chose not to return, every provocation you resisted, and every false narrative you allowed to unfold without interference became a testimony of trust. In Allah's plan, because you understood that true vindication, correction, and justice come from Allah alone, and when the Chosen One acts with integrity while the world acts impulsively, those who are observing begin to witness the difference between worldly reaction and divine guidance, between fleeting satisfaction and eternal reward, and between ego-driven responses and faith-driven composure. And through your silent dawah, people who sought to learn, who were honest in their hearts, and who were searching for truth, began to recognize the principles of patience, mercy, humility, and reliance on Allah in ways that could never be taught through arguments, confrontations, or lectures, because the actions of the Chosen One speak louder than any speech, and your calm presence, measured steps, and consistent integrity created an environment where hearts were awakened, where understanding grew, and where the silent power of Allah's guidance became visible in the real world. And even those who were your critics, your enemies, or your skeptics could not deny the quiet authority you demonstrated, because it reflected something larger than yourself, the hand of Allah working through you, the refinement of your character, and the fulfillment of the divine purpose you were chosen to embody. And in every moment of restraint, in every pause before reaction, in every measured word, and in every controlled emotion, you were delivering a lesson about Islam, about leadership, about divine timing, and about the power of faith under pressure. And people were stunned not because you fought harder, shouted louder, or sought validation, but because your behavior reflected an internal reality far more powerful than any external argument could ever communicate. And this silent dawah became a mirror for those observing, revealing their own weaknesses, impatience, and reliance on ego, while simultaneously highlighting the strength, wisdom, and trust that defines a chosen one. And as the dust settled, the calmness you maintained, the integrity you preserved, and the faith you displayed created ripples that reached far beyond the immediate situation, showing that every moment of restraint is a moment of teaching, every act of patience is a form of guidance, and every choice to respond with wisdom rather than emotion is a reflection of a heart aligned with Allah. And this is why the Chosen One's silence is louder than any words, more instructive than any lecture, and more transformative than any public statement, because true dawah is lived, not spoken, And when your response embodies trust, patience, integrity, and composure under fire, it becomes a beacon that illuminates the path of truth, inspires reflection in the hearts of others, and manifests the unseen power of Allah working visibly through His chosen one, showing that sometimes the greatest teaching comes not from explanation, but from quiet demonstration, not from loud defense, but from steadfast dignity, and not from seeking approval, but from aligning every action with divine wisdom. And through this, the world witnessed a living proof that faith practiced in silence can move hearts, reveal truth, and establish authority in ways that words alone can never achieve, making your calm, measured, and faithful response the ultimate example of dawah in action, a testament that when the chosen one embodies divine principles under pressure, even chaos itself becomes a stage for Allah's guidance to shine. Allah is preparing you for greater responsibility, and everything you have endured, observed, endured in silence, and conquered with patience has been a meticulous training ground designed to elevate your soul and ready you for tasks far beyond what ordinary eyes can perceive, because the chosen one is never merely tested to endure hardship, but to grow capacity, refine vision, strengthen character, and perfect the heart for the weight of leadership, influence, and divine purpose. And every trial, every betrayal, every moment of misunderstanding, and every period of isolation was not punishment, not coincidence, and not a reflection of failure, but a deliberate process orchestrated by Allah to cultivate in you qualities that cannot be developed in ease, comfort, or praise. And this preparation is invisible to those around you, often unnoticed even by yourself, because growth under pressure is subtle, silent, and internal, yet its effects are profound, shaping your decision-making, your patience, your wisdom, and your ability to act with justice, mercy, and clarity when the moment of responsibility arrives. And every storm you endured, every betrayal you witnessed, every attempt by others to manipulate, distract, or deceive you was a refinement, separating what is valuable from what is trivial, showing you where your strength truly lies, and revealing to you and to the universe that you are being ready to hold positions, responsibilities, and outcomes that could never be entrusted to someone untested, impulsive, or unrefined. And in this divine process, Allah has shielded you from outcomes you were not yet ready to handle, delayed blessings until your heart, intentions, and skills were aligned with the magnitude of what He intended, and removed distractions, harmful influences, and false supporters who could have compromised your future. And this preparation demands patience, because the chosen one cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, and cannot be elevated prematurely without risking the integrity of the mission, the honor of the soul, and the impact of the blessings to come. And this is why waiting periods, trials, and moments of intense pressure have accompanied your journey, because Allah's vision for your life is precise, perfect, and beyond human comprehension, and He knows that only a heart that has endured, a soul that has been refined, and a mind disciplined in faith can shoulder responsibilities that align with divine purpose. And while the world measures readiness by skills, appearances, or immediate reactions, Allah measures readiness by patience, sincerity, endurance under unseen trials, reliance on Him alone, and unwavering adherence to truth, even when no one is observing. And every lesson you have learned, silence over reaction, calm over panic, patience over anger, restraint over ego, wisdom over impulsivity is a preparation, a calibration, and a refinement of your spirit to ensure that when the moment arrives, you will respond not out of fear, desire, or ego, but with clarity, courage, and alignment with Allah's plan. And even the people who sought to harm, deceive, or manipulate, you have been part of this divine prepper. Ration, because through their actions, Allah has exposed weaknesses to be corrected, tested resilience to be strengthened, and revealed the depth of your faith and integrity. And by enduring these moments with sabr, grace, and unwavering reliance on Him, you have been elevated beyond the understanding of those who judged you, misunderstood you, or doubted you. Because the chosen one does not merely survive trials, they are transformed by them, and every hardship becomes a teacher, every challenge becomes a tool, and every obstacle becomes a stepping stone toward the responsibilities Allah is entrusting to you. And now, as you look back, what once felt unbearable, overwhelming, or unfair can be seen as precisely what was required to prepare you for the authority, the vision, and the mission that awaits. Because the greater the responsibility, the more preparation is required. The more patience is demanded, and the more reliance on Allah becomes the foundation of every action, decision, and interaction. And this preparation encompasses every aspect of your life, your heart, your mind, your speech, your silence, your actions, your intentions, and even your unseen worship, because the chosen one's responsibility is not limited to worldly outcomes, but includes spiritual stewardship, moral leadership, and the ability to influence outcomes for the benefit of others while remaining aligned with divine guidance. And every moment you have endured has been building your capacity for empathy, discernment, courage, wisdom, and authority, so that when you step into the responsibility Allah has ordained, you will not be overwhelmed, misled, or distracted, but will act decisively, wisely, and justly in accordance with His will. And every test, trial, and storm was necessary to refine your heart, purify your intentions, and expand your vision, because only a heart that has been tested, only a soul that has been refined under pressure, and only a character that has been forged in adversity can carry the weight of what Allah is preparing. And when that moment arrives, those around you will be stunned, not by your strength alone, but by the integrity, wisdom, calmness, and divine alignment that accompanies it, because Allah does not entrust greatness to those unprepared. And every delay, every hardship, and every moment of waiting has been a part of the perfect, divine plan to ensure that the chosen one rises fully equipped, fully grounded, and fully aligned with the responsibilities, blessings, and mission that only they can fulfill. And when you realize this, every moment of difficulty transforms into clarity, every obstacle becomes a proof of preparation, and every trial becomes a testament to Allah's wisdom, because what you endured was never random, never meaningless, and never wasted, but precisely designed to prepare you for responsibilities so great that when they arrive, the world will witness a power, composure, and faith that can only belong to the one whom Allah has chosen, trained, refined, and prepared. And now, standing on the edge of these greater responsibilities, you understand that every test, every storm, every moment of isolation, and every challenge you faced was a sacred preparation, a divine shaping of your soul, and an unveiling of the chosen one within, ready to act with authority, integrity, and unwavering trust in the one who has prepared you for greatness beyond imagination. And in this, Allah's wisdom, timing, and precision are revealed, showing that the chosen one is never elevated by chance, but by careful preparation, patient endurance, and alignment with divine purpose that ensures when responsibility arrives, it is met with readiness, dignity, and undeniable proof of faith in action. Chosen one, remember this: every trial, every betrayal, every moment of silence, and every act of patience was never wasted. It was preparation. Allah saw what no one else did, refining your heart, strengthening your faith, and aligning your destiny. Now you stand stronger, wiser, and unstoppable, calm in the chaos, composed in the storm, and shining with the proof of tawakkul. The world may have watched, judged, or doubted, but your response, silent, patient, and full of integrity, has spoken louder than words ever could. Step forward with confidence, preserve your honor, trust Allah completely, and know that everything you endured was shaping you for greatness. Rise, because the chosen one is not defined by the mess they faced, but by the way they walked through it, and now the world is stunned.